Welcome. In this video, we will talk about the refinements. What do we call a refinement? When we have a higher time frame supply or demand zone, we want to check if we can make that zone smaller in the lower time frames. We will use two types of refinements, the 4-hour to the 50-minute and the 15-minute to the 5-minute. The 50-minute chart or the 50-minute time frame is moving in a downtrend, creating a series of lower lows and lower highs. This means we will have supply zones. Let's say the upside candle of this movement created the inefficient move to the downside and the break of structure. So we will have a right and valid supply zone. If we switch to the 5-minute chart, inside of this 15-minute supply zone, we will find a much smaller zone because the 5-minute candle before the inefficient push will be significantly smaller, and we can use this zone as our 5-minute refinement. So if we correlate the timeframes, we will have this bigger 15-minute zone, and inside of that bigger 15-minute zone, we will have a much smaller 5-minute zone. So this is what we call refinements. Okay, we are on the live chart. I usually do two types of refinements. The first one is the 4-hour zone refinement on the 15-minute, and the second one is the 15-minute refinement on the 5-minute. But if I refine the 4-hour zone on the 15-minute, I just keep it that way, and I won't refine it again on the 5-minute. So I only refine those 15-minute zones on the 5-minute, which were not refined from a 4-hour zone. Okay, as you can see, currently we are on the 15-minute chart, and I will show the 15-minute to the 5-minute refinement first. Price was moving in an uptrend here, creating a series of higher highs and higher lows. After this, price changed character to the downside with these two inefficient candles. So we have the first POI on the 15-minute, this one, because this is the less recent candle before the inefficient push and the change of character. So I mark this zone out. If I switch to the 5-minute chart, you will see that inside of this 50-minute POI, this big box, we will have a much smaller box, this one, because the inefficient push on the 5-minute started from this candle. So we almost halve the size of this zone. With these refinements, you can have much smaller zones, and you'll have a more precise area of the possible turning points or target points. So if you were in long trades, for example, from here, you will target this area, this 5-minute refinement, and not the 15-minute, and you will have a higher risk-reward ratio. And if you are waiting for a turning point, you will aim for this 5-minute refinement and not on the 15-minute, because you know that inside of the 15-minute POI, you will have a smaller 5-minute POI, and you will wait for a reverse point on this 5-minute POI. This is the power of the refinements. Let's see this on the 4-hour to the 15-minute chart refinement. Before we continue with the 4-hour to the 15-minute refinement, I want to show you what happens if you get two unmitigated 5-minute zones inside of the 15-minute zone. So if you see two unmitigated 5-minute zones inside of the 15-minute zone, you just want to keep the unrefined 15-minute zone. And if one of the zones are mitigated, you can use the other 5-minute zone as the refinement. So as you can see, price is moving in an uptrend here, creating a series of higher highs and higher lows. We will have this 15-minute zone here because it created a break of structure to the upside with an inefficient movement. So we can safely mark out this 15-minute zone. If you want to refine this 15-minute zone on the 5-minute, you will see two different 5-minute zones inside of this 15-minute. The first one is down here. The second one is up here. The first one has been already mitigated by price. So this means you can safely use the upper one as the 5-minute refinement. But if price didn't mitigate the first one, so it has been left unmitigated, you can't use double zones. You will have to use the full 15-minute zone as your demand zone. So you can't refine it. Okay, let's see the 4-hour to the 15-minute chart refinement on the live charts. You can also apply the double zone rule on this one. So let's see an example. As you can see, price created this demand zone right here. It created an inefficient push to the upside, break of structure here, change of character here, liquidity CFI here. So this is a really valuable zone. Okay, let's see the refinement of this zone on the 15-minute chart. Let's find that zone. As you can see, this is that 4-hour zone. And inside of this 4-hour zone, you will have two different demand zones. The first one is up here. As you can see, this created inefficient push to the upside. Here, break of structure and liquidity sweep. So we have this first 15-minute POI inside of the 4-hour. We have a second one down here, as you can see, this one, because it also created breakout structure to the upside with an inefficient move and liquidity sweep. But this zone has been already mitigated by this movement. So this means you can safely use the upper zone, because as I said, if you get two zones and one of the two zones is mitigated, you can safely use the other one. So in this case, the other one is this one. Okay, you will want to see some rejection or reaction on this zone inside of the 4-hour PY. Let's just extend this zone and search for a reaction. As you can see, price perfectly tapped this zone, perfectly tapped it with this wick, and after the tap of this zone, it rejected and reversed the price to the upside. So this is the power of the refinements, because as you can see, price has already tapped this zone, the 4-hour one, but it didn't mitigate the full zone and didn't mitigate the 50-minute zone. So it had to come down to mitigate the 50-minute zone inside of the 4-hour. This is the true power of the refinements.